All right, everyone. If you are looking for any information regarding any of the tests or assessments that are going to be conducted this spring, you should probably take a look at the State Assessment Resources site that I maintain. Here you'll find anything pertaining to our spring testing that you might need or want. And so to get there, you can see that I am logged into ClassLink as a teacher, and I'm going to look at the links, and what I'm looking for is this icon right here with the state of Maine flag symbol there that says State Assessment Resources. All right, and that will take you to the site itself. All right, so what you might be looking for example, is the Maine through year assessment materials. All right, and so I'm going to click on that button here. All right, on this first page, this is where you'll find information about our transition to the Maine through year assessment. If you've got time, there's a YouTube video there about that done by the state of Maine. Then you'll see the checklist that we have for Mams for the Maine through year assessment, things to do before testing yourself, things to do with your students before testing, and then on your actual testing days, things that you should do. Okay. And then finally, down the bottom here, we do have schedules for the testing days, and you can click on these buttons here and download whichever schedule pertains to you. And finally, yes, there is one last slideshow here about the Maine through year test as well. All right. And then I have links to training materials. You can get to those links or those pages by clicking on the buttons here. For example, you might want to go to student training when you're working with your kiddos on taking the like practice test or using the browser for the first time so that they can use the released items and play with the tools. But if you are looking for materials for yourself, such as this particular video you're watching right now, you'd go to Teacher Proctor Training. You can get to those pages as well by navigating on the left-hand side of the screen. I'm going to click Teacher Proctor Training. Here you can download a copy of the Quick Start Guide for Teachers and Proctors, which I'm going to kind of take you through anyway here. And then there is a Maine through year assessment administration guide that contains the scripts. I've also included the scripts that you'll need in that Quick Start Guide. Then there is the Maine through year Proctor user guide, which has instructions about actually proctoring. So what I did basically in the Quick Start Guide, the very top link, I've kind of combined those two documents together so that you just only have to look at one document. Another thing that you'll find here too as well is it says the Maine math formula sheet. There's an document that contains different formulas that middle school and high school students can use when taking the math portion of the test. So there should be a copy for each of your students in your envelopes that you will receive. All right. So now I'm going to take you through a couple of the slides that are here just so you can get some basic information about the test. Let's take a look at the bottom question. What is the overall assessment design for the spring through year assessment? And it says the spring Maine through year assessment is one assessment with two purposes. It will consist of both summative portion and a diagnostic portion, and it will produce two scores, a student performance score according to state expectations and a RIT score. Keep in mind, none of those scores will be available until later in the summer. So you're not going to get your RIT score right away. And as Megan may have mentioned to you recently too, several of the questions are adaptive very similar to how the NWEA MAP growth test has been. It's been adaptive. If they get it right, it gets harder. If they get it wrong, it gets easier, and so forth. But then there are several questions in the assessment where they are grade level questions, and that's how they're going to produce that performance score according to state expectations. So on this slide, we can see that math and reading will be assessed in grades 3 through 8, as well as the sophomores at the high school. For reading, it'll be the same as well. The testing window actually opens May 1st and lasts until the 26th, and the mode of delivery will be online, just as usual. So you may have seen back at the scheduling that 6th grade will be doing their testing May 1st and May 2nd. 7th grade will be doing theirs on the 3rd and 4th, and 8th grade will be doing theirs on the 5th and 8th. All right, just as we have a secure testing browser when we were taking the NWEA MAP growth test, there's a new testing browser for the Maine through year assessment. The name of that is called the State Solutions Secure Browser. And so just as you have in the past, you will have students turn their Chromebooks off and then back on again. They will not log in with their user account as typical. Instead, they're going to go to the little apps button, and this right here is the browser that they are going to be looking for to start up. Okay, you can see here basically the testing time that is allotted. As you can see, it's not much different than the typical NWEA MAP growth test. For levels 3 through 8, there are 52 questions, and estimated time to take this portion would be 60 minutes. They all seem to be about that amount, whereas reading, you'll see that the questions is about 48. You can see in the slideshow that there are some resources available to you folks if you should want them. Once again, anything that's necessary is already linked up above. Okay, if for some reason in your testing you notice that a kid was taking the wrong test, or that they got started and then you found out that they didn't have accommodations that they're supposed to have or whatever, if that happens, you should not reset their test in any way. Instead, you would simply have the student stop what they're doing, log out of the test, and then you would need to contact Amanda Hersey so that she can reset the test. Being our district assessment coordinator, she is the only person who should be setting up any sort of reset on the test. All right, so I'm going to take you through the Maine through year assessment quick start guide for teachers and proctors at Mams. All right, in this document, you'll see that there's a checklist of items that you will want to make sure that you have. What you should be doing during each assessment session, as well as it contains the scripts that you'll need for both the reading test and the mathematics test. All right, let's start with our checklist. Prior to the testing session, you should look through your envelope. I would look through the envelope as soon as you get it and make sure that you have the following items. You should have a student roster, particularly if you're a homeroom teacher. On that roster, if you're a homeroom teacher, it's also going to tell you where certain students who are taking their assessment in a small group will be going for their assessment. All right. Student testing tickets, you should have one for reading and one for math for each student. I've printed out a do not disturb sign that you can hang on your door while testing is going on. You'll see a testing schedule for your grade level or grade levels. For some small group proctors, you may be doing, say, both 7th and 8th grade. So you'll have a schedule for each. Also, as stated before, in the mathematics assessment, students are going to be allowed to have this formula sheet that has been created by the folks at the DOE that they're allowed to use to take the assessment. And then you'll have a copy of this document itself that I'm going to take you through right now. All right. During each assessment, I realize you can read, but I want to make sure that everybody is clear about what they should be doing during the assessment session. Because it's a little bit unlike our NWAs of the past. You do not need to log into NWEA and get the session going or confirm students. Students will have everything that they need as long as they've got that ticket, and they'll be able to log into the test and start taking their assessment all on their own. But there are certain things that you will need to do, like reading the script, which pretty much explicitly puts out the instructions for both you and students. So let's see. During each assessment session, you'll start out by distributing the test tickets assigned to students and ensure that each student is taking the correct assessment. Follow the instructions in this assessment administration manual. Only trained staff should be involved in assessment administration. You should ensure that the standardized assessment conditions in which no coaching or prompting occurs do not leave students unattended in a room with access to assessment materials. You should be continuously circulating throughout the room to make students don't access unauthorized electronic devices such as cell phones or other tools that they shouldn't be using during the assessment. You should not be engaging in activities that interfere with active monitoring, such as using a computer or other device or preparing lessons or grading papers. They really want you to be walking around the room and keeping an eye on students and assisting when you can appropriately. If a student experiences some sort of technical issue, you should have that student quit out of the testing browser, maybe even restart the device, and then have them log back into the testing browser using their ticket. If this does not fix the problem, then you should call the Maine office and somebody will be sent to your room to provide some sort of technical support. Do not ever send a student out to look for help on their own. All right, they shouldn't be leaving the testing environment, and not to mention they might not find anybody to help them. So it's best just call the office and they will send somebody to you. You should contact our school or district assessment coordinator immediately. This would be Amanda Hersey. If you suspect any sort of assessment security incident that could potentially affect the integrity of a student's assessment. Once again, if you notice that there was a problem, like they were supposed to have accommodations and they weren't selected for that student, or if the student took the wrong test, then you would want to make sure you contact Amanda so that she can then reset that. So here we have the script for reading, all right? I'm not going to read out the whole thing, but things that you will say to the students are in bold, and they pretty much spell out what everybody should be doing. So for example, you're going to be introducing the test to students. If it's the math test, make sure that you distribute some scrap paper for students and make sure they all have something to write with if they need to. For both tests, they should have a free reading book available to them for when they finish. In here, you'll have instructions of when to pass out the tickets to students. You'll give them instruction about finding the NWEA State Solutions Secure browser, just as they have throughout. They're going to do it the same way when they've done NWEA. They'll turn off their device, turn it back on, but not log in. Go to the apps button, and they will find that new secure browser that's been installed. All right. Then you'll have instructions about how they will log into the test. They'll use their information that is on their tickets in order to log in. You'll give them navigation instruction of how to get to the test that they are going to be taking. Then you'll give them instructions about how to take the assessment as well. The script actually has quite a bit for you to read. So you might want to go through the script ahead of time on your own so that nothing is going to trip you up and it all seems familiar. All right. Keep in mind too, if you should happen to be testing students who have the text-to-speech option, make sure that they have headphones to use during the assessment so that they can't disturb the other testers that are around them. All right, so you basically tell them how to navigate throughout the test and then what to do at the end of the test as well. All right, and then here you'll see that we have the mathematics script as well that is very similar to the reading and it'll talk a bit about using the formula sheet and about using the tools like the calculator and so forth. All right. So as far as proctoring the test, as long as you have the items in your envelope that you should have, and as long as you got the tickets and you read through the script, that's really the main crux of proctoring this test. Keep in mind, they don't want you to spend time doing other things like grading papers or making plans and doing other things. They really want you to circulate throughout the room, make sure that other electronic devices are not being used, and if there is some sort of technical issue, make sure that you call down to the main office and they will send somebody up to give you some assistance. So that is basically everything you need to know regarding our Maine through year assessment. Once again, if you want to get back to the resources that I've displayed to you, you'll want to go once again through your class link, get to our state testing resources website here, and then navigate to the Maine through year assessment.